arte de la enseñanza y en liderazgo educativo. Es autora de 8 libros sobre investigación y neurociencia, creadora del movimiento Ignite Your S.H.I.N.E y proveedora internacional de desarrollo profesional para educadores. Como educadora de la escuela primaria y secundaria, ella está hoy aquí para explicarnos cómo intervenir eficazmente con los estudiantes a través de la neurociencia y las necesidades socioemocionales. Serán sobre 50 minutos de intervención, un relatorio titulado How to Get Your Students to Shine, y posteriormente los asistentes tendrán la oportunidad de realizar alguna cuestión, pocas breves cuestiones con la ponente. Informar además que, como sabréis, está disponible un sistema de traducción simultánea para seguir esta conferencia. Gracias a todos por vuestra asistencia y os dejo con LaVonna.
Buenos días. Yay. Would you do me a favor, please? Would you turn to someone near you? Would you look them in the eyes? So turn to someone near you, look them in the eyes, and tell them the following. Times may change. Education may change. We may change. So turn to your partner and say, but one thing I know, I will always be better looking than you. You're supposed to tell that to your partner, not me telling you. I am so excited to be here, and I just want to share so much with you when it comes to education, and I thank you so much for all that you do. So on the screen, you are seeing a former student of mine, and this is Jessica. Jessica was that 7th grade student that showed up every single day in her basketball shoes, her basketball shorts, her basketball shirt, and her basketball ponytail. What did Jessica love? Basketball, yes. Every day she showed up in her basketball outfits. As a former student of mine, I lost track of Jessica when I moved. And 16 years after having her as a student, 16 years later, I get this Facebook message. And the message in the beginning says, we all have that one teacher that leaves a lasting impression on our life. That teacher, unlike any other teacher, no matter where life takes you, always seems to cross your mind every now and then. And if you go to the end, she says, I do know that I was not the smartest student you taught in your career by far, but that's not how you made me feel in your class. You always made me feel like I was your priority. So I messaged Jessica back, and I said, Jessica, thank you so much for your message. It is great to hear from you, but I have to tell you, I'm really disappointed. Because not one time do you mention the incredible hours of lessons I taught. Okay, just kidding. What does Jessica remember? What I taught or how she felt? How she felt, right? Your students remember how they feel more than anything in your class. So if you think about the impact that you want to make on your students, you will make an impact. The question is it going to be a positive one or a negative one? And I know for me, for some of my students, I made a positive impact, and to some of them, I wish I could say sorry. Because we are human, and sometimes as humans, we say things that we don't always mean, or we don't always know. And my hope is that for you, that your students come back, just like they do with Andrea, and they share with her how she has changed lives. And your students, you do the exact same thing. You change lives every single day, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for that. On the screen, you're seeing a box, and that's because in education, I think so many times that we put kids into a box, and that box is often reading, writing, math, and science. How many of you believe our students are a lot more than reading, writing, math, and science? I agree, right? So let's blow up this box. Let's invite the arts in. If you look at how the brain learns through the arts. If we look at how to reach students. So on the screen you may recognize these gentlemen. C or C? Okay, good, because I won't give you the yes or the no, because if you don't recognize them, you are too young, and I don't want to hear about it. So on the screen, the two people in particular I labeled is Paul McCartney and George Harrison. These two gentlemen went to the same high school in Liverpool. They had the same music teacher. And she said on their report cards that neither of them had exceptional talent. Lady, you had half the Beatles in your class. All right, what were you looking for? What are we looking for? And so Ignite Your Shine is not about being the smartest student. It's about looking for the way that child is smart. Because you see, I believe every child is gifted. Every child is smart. The question is how. So on the screen here, you're seeing a picture that I saw in a home. It was a friend of mine, Nancy. And I said, Nancy, who in the world drew that? Because you see, when I was in college, to become a teacher, I had to take a class in art. And my professor was walking by and she goes, oh, you draw like a second grader. I am in college, the university. In my head I went, and I must have looked at her strangely, and she said, no, I just means that where your art education has stopped. And I was thinking, yeah, lady, you're not helping me, you can stop, right? But she wasn't wrong. I do draw like a second grader. It's terrible. So I see this and I'm drooling because I cannot believe the amazingness, the talent behind this. And so I said to Nancy, I said, who drew this? And she said, oh, this was drawn by a gentleman. And he drew it from a picture of my nephew, Colt. I said, he drew that from a picture, not from Colt being right there in front of him. She said, no, he had to draw it from a picture because he's in prison for life. But it was her next words that stopped me. He didn't know he could draw until he took an art class in prison. I believe we failed this student because we did not recognize the gift that he has and to teach him how to use those gifts, those skills, those talents. We are sitting in art right now. See, aquí, art. So are we working with kids to recognize this? So because of this, I wanted to move away from looking at how kids are smart in one way or a couple ways, but really in all the different ways they are smart. So I started Ignite Your Shine, and I'm going to take you through the acronym of the letters for SHINE. And the first letter, S, is self. The first letter of SHINE is self. When we think about self, that is the impact that we make on others. But it's also about taking care of you. So we're going to look at what are those gifts, those skills, strengths, talents. How does somebody shine? So strength's not how much you can lift, but what are those gifts that you have? On the screen, you're seeing words. They're popping up. I want you to think about you for a moment. Which of these words describe you personally and professionally? Raise your hand if some of these words describe you. Keep them up if they describe some of your colleagues that you work with. Keep them up if they describe some of your students. Keep them up if this is what we test in schools. Are these important? Yes? See? Yes. These are so important. People often call these life skills, soft skills. I call them necessary skills. This is what employers are hiring for. They want to know, can our students do this? But if we're in schools not working on these skills, we're leaving behind our students in a world that we need to prep them for. So I think about you personally, professionally, how do you shine? But I also challenge you, how do your students shine? How are they smart? What is their greatness? Because Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Because the brain believes what you tell it. If I tell my brain I'm stupid, what do I believe? Yeah. If I tell my brain I'll never be able to make it, what do I believe? Yeah. So when we tell our brain believes, so whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So we often hear people say, I can't do this. I can't do this. There's a 3-letter word in English that we could add to the end of this. What's that word? Yet. I can't do this yet. Because when the brain hears, I can't do this, decision has been made. But when you say, I can't do this yet, the brain hears hope. It hears, maybe. Maybe. So we're going to play a little game. I need you to turn to a partner. So turn to a partner. Between you and the partner, decide who is going to go first. Of course. All right. Person who is going to go first, you are going to be uno. Okay? Pretend that I have a partner. Well, the game is called uno, dos, tres. Okay? So I would say uno, my partner, dos. Me, tres. Partner, uno. Uno, dos, tres. Uno, dos, tres. As fast as you can. I'm going to start this really, really easy. All right, really easy. So uno, dos, tres. Rapido. All right, go. When I say hip, hip, you say hooray. Hip, hip. Hip, hip. I'm like, hola. All right, so raise your hand if that was easy. All right, if you raised your hand, you did not go fast enough. How many of you had a hard time? It was harder than you thought. See. All right, so I believe in you, though. We're going to pick it up and make it harder. All right? So turn to your partner and say, we can't do this yet. Okay. You no longer say uno. You no longer say uno. It's now it's dos, tres, dos, tres, dos, tres, dos, tres, as fast as you can. Ready? Go! In you. I believe in you. I'm going to make it harder. All right? What did we do for a one? For uno. Uno was, right, so uno. All right. Dos, no longer say dos. All right? Now it's snap. All right? So, tres. Tres. Rapido. Go. Raise your hand. Good. Good for mistakes. Now, one more step, because I'm going to make it harder. But this time, if you make a mistake, you have to say, put your hands on your knees, and you have to say, woohoo! All right, let's practice. Let's practice. Hands on knees. If you make a mistake, you have to go, woohoo! Ah, fantastico. All right, so, ready? But here's the change. What is it for uno? What is it for dos? Okay, now trace. Trace. All right, uno. Rapido, go. Or stomp. No more. All right? It is now uno, dos, tres, uno, dos, tres. Go. Hip, hip. Hip, hip. Woo-hoo! Give yourself a round of applause. Question, were you faster the last time? Ah, yes. I was at Stanford University, and I had a chance to play that game. And I thought, what an excellent game to play with students. Because they learned that if you make a mistake, what did we do? Celebrated, yes, we did the woohoo. We celebrate mistakes. And when I go into classrooms, I love it. Because students are celebrating. They're like, when they make a mistake, they're mistake, mistake, mistake. I love it. But we have to teach them the other piece to that. Yes, you made a mistake. What are you going to do with that mistake? What are you going to do with that mistake? What is that takeaway, that benefit, that lesson? And teach them to do something with it, because are we going to mess up? As humans, will we make mistakes? Yes. So embrace those mistakes. I tried to warn you that I'm not a good artist you are about to see. I need to take Andrea's class. I flew home one day on my daughter's birthday. I hadn't gotten a card yet, so I rushed to the grocery store, picked out a card, I signed it, put it in the envelope, I sealed it, and before I got home I went, oh no. Pulled the card out. What is wrong with what you see if that is going to my daughter? Right, she doesn't call me LaVonna. She calls me Mom. I messed up and I thought, great. Got to throw the card away or maybe just cross it out. But the more I looked at it, I was like, LaVonna, come on. You've got to get creative. What could you do with this? So I looked at it, and it became that. I would like some creativity award. Thank you. Gracias, Uno. Because that exclamation point and that heart became the nose and the lips. You are seeing that I do draw like a second grader. My professor was not wrong. And I used to hide this. I used to hide my mistakes. In front of my students, if I messed up, I would say, oh, I meant to do that. Or I would say, I was just making sure that you were awake. Because I was embarrassed. Until I remembered and realized we are all human. We all have our strengths, those things that we are amazing at doing. And we have the things that we need to work on. But I don't know about you, but I am tired of students being told all of what they can't do versus what they can, and teaching them how to use that. So I had moved from the state of Ohio to the state of Florida in the United States, and I was in front of my 6th grade students, and I was teaching geography. And I said, guys, it's the beginning of the year. You don't know me as your teacher. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let you know that I am one of the best artists in the entire world. So I'm about to draw on the board here, and I just want you to know that I am phenomenal. As in, there is no way you can keep up with my skills. So I turned around, I drew the state of Florida. I turned back around and they were like, I said, isn't this amazing? And they were like, see, yes. I said, okay, stop. Is that the best ever? And they're like, Miss, that's our state, Florida? I said, yes. But here's the thing, how many of you in my class are great at art or like art? And hands went up. So do you see, I don't have to be a great artist because I can count on you, and you in my classroom. And you can help me, or I can have you draw it for me. Put your hands down, and I asked them, how many of you like music? And hands went up. And I said, you see, I can count on you to do a song, a rap, a poem, a chant. Put your hands down. How many of you are great at seeing two sides of conflict? You can see both perspectives, and hands went up. And I continued asking question after question. And as I asked these questions, hands kept going up and hands kept going down. And finally I said at the very end, I said, how many of you are great at everything I just said? You raised your hand every single time. Not one hand went up. I said, because you see, we all have our strengths about us. But when we come together and we count on each other for what we are great at, we will be unstoppable. I truly believe we will be unstoppable if as humans we come together to support each other and to understand that we have the strengths, and what we're not great at, somebody else is. And what they aren't great at, you have the skills, the strengths to be able to help them. But we have to embrace it. We have to own those mistakes. Because so many times we don't. And when we don't feel good about ourselves, we begin to see ourselves like a small kitten instead of the lion that we are. I'll tell you about a time that I felt like a kitten, and there are many of them. But one time, I was getting ready to give a talk just like this. It was going to be about 800 people, and I get nervous every time I talk. Every time. So when you get nervous, biologically, you have to go to the bathroom. So I had the battery pack for my microphone on a belt, right? Went to the bathroom and had not realized I had undone my belt because I had a dress on. And so when I look in the toilet to flush it, there is my belt. And I said, LaVonna, that's exactly how your talk is going to go. It's going to go right down the toilet. Yes. I don't know why you think you can do this. They're not going to like you. And my brain went with self-talk down to the negative. And I said, stop. Stop. It's up to you. It's up to me to make this decision. So I looked. I did what all of you would have done. You cannot flush the belt down the toilet. So I picked it up. I went out to the sink. I rinsed it off with water, dried it, put it around my waist, buckled it, looked in the mirror, and I said, LaVonna, you got this. You got this. You might smell like pee, but you got this. That saying that we often hear, fake it till you make it. Sometimes you have to believe in your head that you can do something in order to actually make it happen. I don't want our students, I don't want you to ever feel like a kitten. You are that lion of greatness. That's who you are. The moment we stop beating ourselves up over what we can't do and focus on what we can do, we truly will be unstoppable. That is when we shine. So the letter S is all about self, strengths, gifts, skills, talents. H is heart. It's about passion. Passion. What excites you? What excites your students? Do you know if they have a love of cars? Do you know if they love to dance? Do you know if they love to take care of someone? Because I think the key to happiness is several things, but definitely a part of it is taking what we are great at doing, those strengths, gifts, skills, talents, and putting that together with passion. Because if you know your students and what they like, what they're passionate about, those are clues as to what they could do in life. Those are all clues. So what are you passionate about? Hopefully it's education, or you're in the wrong field. My goal is for students to feel the way a student that I talked to felt. She said at the end of the day, when I worked with her whole class, she said, you know what? You know what I learned about Ignite Your Shine? I learned that I get to be me. She said, when I come to school, I'm no longer pretending to be anybody else. I get to be me. Yes. That's how every student should feel. That's how you should feel. It's okay to be who you are because you know your strengths and you know your passions. And you see, I believe these two go together. Because you could say, LaVonna, you are so good at organizing. We think you should organize closets in people's homes for a living. I don't like it. Yes, I'm good at organizing. Don't like it. The problem with that picture, I have the strength of organizing, but I don't have a passion for it. Which means I'm going to burn out. I'm going to be done. I don't want to do that. Now flip that. I might say, oh, I am passionate about singing. I love to sing. And I am amazing in the car. And that's it. So if I have a dream of singing someday on the stage with Mariah Carey or Ariana Grande, some famous singer, it is not my strength. Is that likely to happen? No, because she's not going to want me because I am no good at singing. So if we teach our students what are those strengths and we teach them what are your passions, put those together, that's the powerful package. That is a combination for happiness in life. The thing is we all know as adults, life will throw us curveballs. Life will throw things at us that we never expected. So that's why I is inspire. Inspire. Do this with me. Take your hands, put them down at your waist, and you're going to go, So inspire in American Sign Language is this. So if I don't really feel inspired, I might, but if I feel really inspired, different. right? So inspires, how do we work through things that happen in life? Because sometimes when we see things or things that happen, we view them as a huge mountain. It's a big problem. But what if we viewed this different? What if we looked at this in a different way? Let's say, for example, you were driving here this morning and you had a flat tire. Now you're thinking, great, I'm going to be late to the Congress. I've got to have the money to change the tire. I don't know how I'm going to get to the Congress. And your head is negative. Fast forward to this afternoon, and let's say it's 3 o'clock this afternoon. I pass you and I say, hey, how's your day been? Do you know I had a flat tire this morning? People, that was this morning. So if that happened, let's say at 9 o'clock, what happened at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock? We are now written off the whole day as a bad day. But it's what I call a moment, right? It's not a whole bad day, it's a moment in time. Because what if that flat tire saved you from a fatal car accident? Would you think differently about the flat tire? Yeah. It's how we view things. So I tend to, when things get thrown my way, a problem comes, I look at it at 3 different levels. 1, a little speed bump. Tiny little problem in life. The next one, a foothill. It's a bigger problem. Something that we have to work. Right? Maybe it upsets us for a day. But then we have mountains, and mountains are those things that affect us maybe a week, maybe a month, maybe years. But those are mountains. But what I want you to think about is that it's your perspective. You choose. Because is it possible that my speed bump is your mountain? Yes? Is it possible that my mountain is your foothill? So big problem might be smaller to you. Your little problem might be big to me. It's all about how we choose to see things. A lot of our stress comes from the fact of how we see things. Maybe those things were meant to be there, to teach us something. So I mentioned that we have moments in life that we have to stay inspired with. So I have a saying, moments don't define you, allow them to refine you. Because this is what happens in the brain. You are looking at neurons in the brain. These are rat neurons, but your brain does the same. The cell in the brain, the neuron on the left, is a very healthy neuron. You can see how thick it is and branches everywhere, dendrites and axon terminals. But here, they're shrinking. This neuron is actually dying. And this comes from stress. So the chemicals in your brain get released, and if it's something like cortisol, it will damage the neuron in the brain. So I see the one on the left as your time off neuron, and the one on the right might be your teaching neuron. Is that correct? Hopefully not. Because hopefully you are taking some time to take care of you, to reduce that stress. But I want you to remember what I just said a few minutes ago, stress is perception. Stress is perception. It is how you see the stress. So I mentioned the saying before, and I mention it again. This is my saying that helps me when times are hard. Moments don't define you. Allow them to refine you. When something negative happens, use that to help you be stronger, to help you become the person that you want to be. allow it to make you even better. We can't stop things from happening. We can't stop things from happening, but we can adjust how we see it. See? Good. S. So we talked about S. S is self, right? H, heart. I. What was I? Oh, yes. Inspire, right? N is navigate. In other words, what do you want your path to be? And what about your students? What are their goals? What do they want their story to be? Their journey to be? Who do they want to become? And when we know this, we can help them set goals. Now, goals are interesting to me because it has a lot to do with language. For example, if I said, I'm going to lose weight, so I would do what I call the Monday diet, right? Monday comes, I have my spinach and my kale, my fruits, a little bit of meat, maybe lean meat, maybe some fish. And then Tuesday comes and I'm like, you know, I was so good on Monday. I deserve a piece of dark chocolate. So I have a piece of dark chocolate. I mean, first of all, it is dark chocolate. Second of all, it is small. Okay. Get to Wednesday, I would look back and I go, Monday, I was so good. Tuesday, I had a little piece of dark chocolate. Here's what I've been thinking. It's Wednesday. As long as I have 2 out of the 3 meals healthy, that's the majority. I'm still doing great. So then it comes to Thursday, and I realized, you know, Thursday, yeah, it's pretty much the weekend. And we all know calories don't count on the weekend. So I would eat what I want on Thursday, and then it's Friday, and it's Saturday, and by Saturday I'm like, you know, I've really messed up, but that's okay, because you know what? I will start again on Monday. That's why I call it the Monday diet. It did not work for me, in case you were wondering. What I had to learn to do was it wasn't about the next Monday. It was about the next bite that I want to take. It's about the next bite. Because again, it's how you perceive things. What do you want your goals to be? I'm going to ask you all to do me a favor. Would you take your hands and put them at the base of your neck? So the base of your head, I should say. It's right here. All right, go ahead and massage. This is your brain stem. And your brain stem controls fight, flight, freeze. So it's your reactions. If you put your hands here, this is a great picture, by the way. You look good. Jay, this is a great picture. My husband is here, by the way. All right, you put your hands here. So deep in here is what's called the limbic system. Will you say limbic system? Good. Limbic system, it processes emotions, right, deep in the brain. Now move your hands here. These are your frontal lobes. Would you say frontal lobes? Good. This is where you make decisions, you plan things, you make judgments. A lot of what we ask kids to do in school is here. Where do you think in the brain is the last place to develop? Here, here, or here? Which one? Would you show me with your hands? Take a guess. It's okay to be wrong. We learned that. Ah, good. Frontal lobes, right? Last place to develop. They often say, when it comes to females, between the ages of 20 and 22. Males, still doing the research. No. Just kidding, just kidding. They say when we're in our early to mid-20s is when we fully develop, but some of the latest research I've seen actually says not until we're in our 40s. So if you've ever said to a kid, "What were you thinking?" Right? Because what happens is when we undergo stress and we're not fully developed, and even with us, the blood flow is everywhere in the brain. But when we undergo stress, the blood flow starts to back out of the frontal lobes and goes to limbic and brainstem, which means we have a very hard time thinking, making judgments, making decisions, planning things out, because the blood flow is not where we need it to be. So are we giving our kids a chance to breathe? Right? Beautiful talk about emotions, right? Understanding the heart and the head of a child. It is so important to what we do with students and the work that you do. So navigate, the letter S was self, H, heart, I is inspire, N is navigate, and E is exceptional. It's exceptional because you are becoming the person that you were meant to be. It's not about trying to be everybody else. Because as an educator, you put so much of your heart into what you do. The part of that is that it means that we also take things very personally. So if you look at a teacher in your building and you see them do phenomenal bulletin boards, and you see another teacher and they can handle any discipline problem easily, and you have another teacher who teaches the best lessons, our viewpoint is that, okay, my bulletin boards aren't very great. I can handle okay discipline, but not that level. My lesson plans could be more engaging, they could be more fun. And we keep comparing and comparing, which means inside we do this. We start to feel like that kitten again. But you see, we're not all great at everything. You're meant to be the exceptional person that you were meant to be. Imagine this. Imagine that you had a student come to you, because I have a daughter, and I experienced something very similar to this. Her first year in high school, she said, "Mom, everybody has the latest iPhone. Everybody." I said, "Really? Everybody in your high school, every student has the latest iPhone?" "Yep." She did not get the latest iPhone. A couple years later, she said, "Hey, Mom, getting ready to drive, right? So I'm probably going to get a car, right?" I was like, "Possibly." She said, "Well, I was thinking, if you've been to the student parking lot?" I said, "No." "Well, almost everybody there drives Mercedes and BMWs. I mean, everyone." I said, "Really?" I said, "Everybody at your school drives a BMW or Mercedes?" "Yep." She said, "Have you seen the parking lot?" I said, "No. Not a Mercedes or BMW." Fast forward, she comes to me and she said, "Mom, have you seen the bags that all the girls have?" And I said, "No, what bags?" She said, "Louis Vuitton." "Every girl in your school has a Louis Vuitton bag." "Yep." Did not get a Louis Vuitton bag. So I asked her, I said, "Can you tell me 5 of your friends' names?" And she told me 5 names. I said, "Of these 5, which one of them have the latest iPhone?" "All of them." "Okay, how many of them drive a BMW or Mercedes?" "This one." "Okay, and how many of them have a Louis Vuitton bag?" "This one." And I said, "Oh." So because you know in your language you've said everybody has. Again, perception. Not everybody had all 3. Not even everybody had 2. But our perception is what everybody else has. And we forget to remind ourselves of what we have. Again, that greatness within us being exceptional. So teaching our students that, yes, you may see someone who has something you don't, whether that's materialistic, right, things, or whether it's inside. But it doesn't diminish who you are. You are still that lion of greatness. You are still exceptional. So I'll end with this. Do you remember this student? I will share with you because I want to remind you to never forget the impact that you make. Jessica, I found out, actually graduated with a master's degree in education and is now principal of a high school in the United States. Never forget the impact that you make. Would you look at your feet? I know this sounds weird. Yes, go ahead and applause. Go ahead. Yes, you. You deserve that. You deserve that. So weird request, strange request, look at your feet. Don't look at me, look at your feet. Look at your legs. Look at your belly. Okay, quickly look at your hands. Make sure you're looking at your hands, not me, look at your hands. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you do because you are looking at the person who changes lives, who makes a difference, and you'll never be thanked enough. Keep doing what is best for our students. Gracias.